This is the Chester County Real Estate Podcast, bringing you the info you need to make your next move a great one. This show is brought to you by RE/MAX Ace Realty. For show notes and links, go to acerealtypa.com/podcast.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Chester County Real Estate Podcast. I'm your host, Sean Dominski, and today we're sitting down with associate broker here at RE/MAX Ace Realty, Bobby Hulmes, and we're going to be talking a little bit about some of the things that sellers need to know going into 2023 when it comes to thinking about selling their house. Bobby, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks, Sean. It's always great to be here. I appreciate it.
What are you telling homeowners who are thinking of selling right now? Are you telling them, hey, get it on the market, the buyers are out there and the inventory's low? Or are you telling them, get it ready, get ready? What do some of those conversations look like?
I'm telling them to sell it right now.
Yeah.
Okay. Comparatively to yesterday, and which we know, and tomorrow, which we don't know. What I know is today, and what I know is there is competition out there and there are no listings.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and interest rates have been slipping. Now, you know, if interest rates continue going down, you can refinance or perhaps even relock during the mortgage process. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so that's we keep joking, but that's why you're not marrying the rate, right? So,
right,
if you can buy in this magic window, the rest of that market has not yet jumped in front of you as well. Mm-hmm. So, you know, you can snag a deal competitively, but not pay this absolutely outrageous price like you probably will in the spring, and people do all the time. If you list your home now, you know you're a diamond in the rough, mm-hmm. right? Do you want to be a diamond among diamonds when there's more competition? Because people will see your house and the one down the street and compare it side by side. So right now they're having trouble finding what they want, and when a house pops up, they want to see it. Okay, mm-hmm. And it's the only one they're really they're comparing against themselves, not other properties to see. So, you really can stand out and shine, and that's difficult for sellers to do because they've been busy mm-hmm. with the holidays, and it's cold, and there's people that are thinking of selling their homes are often about 4 or 5 projects away from being able to actually put the wheels in motion. Yeah, but they are out hiring the real estate agent right now. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I remember this time last year, all of a sudden in Q2, I popped out all these listings all at once, and people were getting upset. Well, what are you doing? Or you're stealing my business, or you're doing this. And I said, well, when you're sitting around, watching daytime TV, I was prospecting mm-hmm. because these are the important days when you're gonna have a real nice summer. Mm-hmm. And you can take that summer vacation because you need to come out with that big influx of inventory or get all your buyers in your pipeline that will buy or will sell come March, April, May, June. Mm-hmm. Those settlements start hitting late in spring through the summer, and then you're sitting on a beach drinking a margarita because you've done the work while nobody else was.
Real quick, in your experience, in your business, I'm sure there's a range, but I don't know if you can give kind of like a bell curve. How much from when someone first hires a real estate agent to when their house is live on the market, how much time usually is there, and what does that usually depend on?
Sure. Very important thing to nail down right away.
And the reason why I ask is because if someone's thinking of selling, so they can start planning and maybe kind of understand what timeline they're looking at.
Yeah. If I said, get your house on the market right now, most mm-hmm. folks are going to say, okay. And they're going to start putting those wheels in motion to get their house listed in April, May, June, right? So they'll be right where, I described. One of the first things that I'm going to ask people when I talk to a new prospect or somebody I haven't met or even a warm referral, I want to nail down a couple, things. Well, the first question always is, well, when do you want to move? Because that's going to determine all the rest of the questioning line that I provide. When do you want to move? Well, my spouse and I were thinking that, we would get a jump on things and we were going to move, by spring next year. Oh, okay. No problem. I'm going to help them in the best way I can prep themselves for, to go to battle in a year. I'll put them in my pipeline. I'll follow up with them. If properties, really match what they've described, I'm going to send it to them and say, hey, here's an idea. But I'm not going to get out there showing you homes right now. I want now buyers and sellers. Yeah. You can only spend so much of your time. If I'm spending too much time with them, then I'm not servicing the people that need help now, and I only have so much time to go around. So no problem. That's great. I'll put you on the whiteboard. I'll follow up with you. There's opportunities there to build a relationship with those people. And if something's perfect, of course, I'm going to send it right to you. But then there's folks that say, well, listen, we need to be out of our house by this date. Let's say we need to be out by April 1st because our new home's going to be ready. Okay, let's get going right now. When can we get pictures? Because I still want to be able to get them the best price. I want to go through all the steps that I explained to them is my process, which is really leveraging the coming soon period. Okay, you want to have the most amount of competition in there on the first weekend. You want people in there saying, oh, we could put our couch here. Yeah, the TV would go there. When you're looking at the house and you love it, you're going, ooh, there's some competition, right? All of a sudden, there's value in this. They must like it too. So to leverage the full 21 days, like there we are, right in, March, April, May. So if you can get it out right now, great. We'd like to buy a home the next 3 to 6 months. Mm-hmm. That's the most common answer I probably hear. We'd like to, we don't, or we're selling a home. Well, we don't have, any time. They want to get the best price. So I also know how they're going to come into the conversation with their pricing strategy. Mm-hmm. When I found a home that I loved, I wasn't even looking for a home. It just kind of came. My wife found it and came across my plate. And I said, I love this home. This is the home for me. I moved mountains to make it happen. Right. And I needed to have the sign in my yard the next day. Mm-hmm. So when I was pricing my home, I priced it to sell. Mm-hmm. And now I was thinking back to them, like, could I have gotten more? Maybe. But I got phenomenal terms too. Right. I mean, it was a lock done deal. Okay. So when you overprice your house, you're going to get lower offers, people just taking a swing, right? Right. But they're also going to want full inspections. I want an appraisal contingency. I want a home sale. They have that negotiating power because there's no competition on your house priced currently where it's at. Well,
it's funny because if it sells too quick, I've heard this has been something like, oh, those agents are just underpricing it because they just want to get paid faster. Yeah. But if it takes too long, it's like, oh, those agents they just want to sign out on the street to have put with their name on it, and you're like, all right, well, what is it? Because I most agents I know they're fine. Like I'll put a sign in your yard and it'll sit there for a couple months because you're overpriced. It won't make me look good, but it's going to get me exposure.
Agents I ask them sometimes if I could take the sign off the property if they're going to price it that high because it's not making me look good. It looks good when I put the sign. Right, I might get a couple calls that first week. Folks are driving by to see it, but in the old days, that was the only way. They would call the sign, but now they can look it up on their phone and find access to it. So it's not going to be a good look for me if it's sitting there and I use only signposts. So, the ground's shifting and it's getting droopier and I've had to go back to listings and repair them, or I get a call, hey, your truck's your sign's been hit by a truck. It's in 5 pieces laying out in the street. So nobody wants that. What does look good is when I hammer that pole in and all the neighbors are looking at it, and then I come back 4 days later and I put the sold rider on it. Right. They're saying this guy sells homes, and that's what I want. So I say, look, in my interest, I want it to sell fast because it's going to be a win-win deal. I'm going to look good because all my statistics show that I price homes and sell them fast, and it's going to be a win for you because you're going to get the most value and
Right.
best terms in the shortest amount of time.
I love the term like catching a falling knife too. So like when you're constantly, you're reducing the price, but now it's been sitting on the market. So then you
Right.
have to reduce the price more, and then but it sits on the market. So you kind of get stuck in that catching a falling knife type of illusion there. And you're just like, well, if you had a little bit more, if you're a little bit more strategic in your pricing to begin with, you probably could have ended up with actually pocketing more money. Because that's the other thing too, is when you don't have as many, when it's not a multiple offer situation and you don't have a lot of interest and you do get that offer in there, and this is like what real estate was like, 5 years ago. Well, now you have contingencies. Now you have inspections, and you're everything's opening you up to more negotiation. And so from a seller standpoint, you have to ask like, okay, this offers, this offer has the amount we want, but with all these contingencies, is it going to end up the amount that we want, or is
Right.
that going to change? And I would never say that a buyer shouldn't protect themselves, but from a seller standpoint, the more interest they have on a property will give them more options.
Absolutely. In any scenario, I was told this in the very beginning of my career, and I still stand by it now. You will get the best, highest price for your house in the shortest amount of time by creating the most amount of competition.
Yeah.
And that's why we entrust this process with a broker rather than try to sell it on our own. The broker's job is to market that property to the most amount of people, create the greatest pool of competition, and show it in its best light. Make it shine the best you can so that the most amount of people find interest in it. So usually you get the best price in the shortest amount of time on the market. That's the saying, price to sell, or the first offer is usually the best offer. That didn't come from nowhere. It's because it's true. So
and I try to explain to people too, like the thing is, like, you have people who've been looking for houses, and then your house comes on the market, and then they make an offer. It's not because you were too low or it's like because you put it out to the people who are already looking. If a couple weeks go by and those people who are already looking have now moved on, or now you're hoping for new people to come into the market.
Lose, and the only thing that, sure, you can adjust photos or reshoot a room, or send out postcards or put it in the newspaper, but ultimately price will cure. So once every house has a magic number that it's worth, and if you do choose the strategy of reduce, there's a point where it'll hit a magical number that people will be clearing out their bank accounts to buy that property because it's the best house on the best street at the best price that they've seen in their price range.
Do you think so? Like a price reduction, I guess part of me is thinking that when you reduce the price, really what you're doing is you're trying to open up the listing to a new pool of buyers, like a new audience.
Absolutely.
Because it's not, and it could be, but it's hard to make any kind of general statements, but it's not necessarily when you reduce the price, it's someone saw it at this price, and then when you dropped it a percentage, now they're like, oh, well, in that case, now I want to see the house. Like,
that does happen.
I'm not saying it doesn't happen.
It does happen because people follow it.
Yeah.
However, first impressions are lasting. So you've already, given people a bad taste in their mouth when they see it at a certain price. I find most people are going to look as high as their budgets will allow. So if you just picked a number, let's just say 500,000. If my max budget is 500, if the house is priced 501, I'm not even seeing it. It's not even on my radar. So I'm educating my buyers. I'm saying, look, let's look $25K above your budget. Know that you really can't afford that house. Maybe you could stretch if it were your dream home. But if that house is sitting on the market for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks at 525, you know that it's prime to take a price reduction, probably to the 500K mark. But you've already seen it. You've got a leg up on all the new folks that this has now been put on their radar, because all of a sudden it takes that price reduction, goes down to 500K. Now you're hitting everyone's hot sheet that's searching, 400 to 5 or 450 to 5. Because again, it's the money's monopoly money. It's what is my mortgage going to be? How much can I
Right.
afford monthly? Right? So most people are on fixed monthly budgets. So now if you've already seen that property and you've been following it, you're in a prime position to, to get a leg up on the competition because they still have to see the property, walk around it, get the mother-in-law to come see it, right? Walk around with a flashlight, all those things. So now I do also want them to look that high at properties that are on the market 3-4 weeks because it's likely that homeowners thinking about making a price reduction, now you can force their hand a little bit.
Right.
Okay? Because once it hits 500, it's worth 500. You might get somebody to bid over the price that was in the 500 range, but can stretch to 515.
Yeah.
Well, if you force the seller's hand before they make that price reduction, maybe you can squeeze in 485. It's close to what they were going to reduce the price to anyway, right?
Right.
Maybe you save $15K there. So, you can lead a horse to water?
Yeah.
Will they drink? I don't know.
A little while ago, I kind of had this, I started noticing this trend. And it felt like in the market that we were in, one day on the market, I would say not like a day. Like after a day or so, it was like for every day, it was definitely for every week, it was like a month in the previous market. Like if I saw a house that was like when things were just flying, signs were just flying out the ground, flying off the shelf. It was like if something was sitting for 12 days, it was like it felt like something was sitting. It was like 2012 when things sat for 12 months.
You're absolutely right. It's crazy.
Now that's a little bit of exaggeration, but aren't we seeing like are you still noticing that like when you see a house that's been sitting on the market for 4 weeks, you're like, wow, this feels like 3 months from a previous.
I had a conversation with an agent yesterday. He called me, and we had a good relationship as I try to carry with most of the agents here. And hey, listen, Bobby, what's going on with this place? I see it's been on the market 23 days. I'm like,
yeah.
What's the problem? Like, is it so defective that it's been on the market for 23 days? I had a home seller sitting there at the table, signing everything, all disgruntled at their agent, me, because I sold their house in 45 days. And this was a near $1 million listing. Okay, you need to. As agents, I'll take this on myself. I need to do a better job of educating people to saturation rates in a price class. What is the average market on days to market a property? Well, I'll tell you what. Here's the sliding scale. You want to price your house it's undervalued. It's going to sell in 30 seconds. You want to overprice it like I've been seeing. Well, it's going to take many, 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 many days to sell it. Because let me ask you this. If I had $100 bill in my hand, okay, which wish I did, what would you pay for that?
Probably around $100.
Right. If you bought it for $99, you'd be
that's a deal.
Clearing out your bank account to buy as many $100 bills as I have. Right. Okay. Maybe your investment rate, your return on investment threshold would be a little higher, but let's just say that I said, look, I have a $100 bill. I'll sell it for $90. Would you take that deal? Of course. If I'm trying to sell it for $120, nobody's going to buy it. Okay, so that is the science of pricing the home. It's very hard as the agent to give somebody a very acute price. Of course, property condition is going to greatly impact that. My idea of property condition, having seen hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of properties, is probably a lot different than the homeowners who has emotional attachment to the place. I'm listening to these nice folks tell me that their place, it's updated. You have an updated half bath. It needs a brand new kitchen. I'm like, all the floors need to be refinished. The whole house needs paint. No problem. You don't want to come out of pocket and do that before you list your home. Fine, but there's a price value attached to that because buyers will debit you in their mind just about twice what it probably costs for you to do. So if you could get a new roof put on your house for $7,000 from your cousin that's in the business, the buyer in their mind is going to go, well, this house needs a new roof. It's going to be $15,000. Okay, let's call it 10 safely. Right. So you just lost $3,000 right there. So if you want to sell, we want to sell it as is. Haven't heard that before. Okay, fine. But your house is not going to sell what this other one sold for that's freshly painted, has a brand new kitchen remodel. Okay, so these things that buyers are debiting them in their mind, because folks want the price range I typically work in, the let's say 4s to 7s. Those are first-time buyers now. They're buyers that can afford a payment that looks like that, and they want things done. They don't want to spend $650,000, $700,000 and have to also remodel a kitchen, right? So that's just one of the variables. Of course, these interest rates fluctuating are the other. And then, of course, seasonal. We talked about that. My house is going to show, like $1 million home when my landscaping grows in, because I've spent a lot of money and kept up with the landscaping. I have beautiful flowers. I've special species of trees, and right now it's all depressed and decayed in the middle of January. So timing is important there, and that's why I think as a seller, okay, well I have to wait till the spring to list my home so all this stuff grows in. The buyers are out there now, so if you're buying right now, I think there's really, you have a lot of competition, whether you know it or not. They think of this as an off-peak time to buy, but it's very competitive for the homes priced accurately.
Hey everyone, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the show, please do us a favor and leave a like or a comment. We'd love to hear from you. You can also check us out online at chestercountypodcast.com, and you can subscribe to us. Our show is available on YouTube, iTunes, Google Play Store, Stitcher, and Facebook. I can't wait to see you there.
Thanks for listening. This has been the Chester County Real Estate Podcast, brought to you by RE/MAX Ace Realty, serving buyers and sellers in the Chester County area. Subscribe for new episodes at acerealtypa.com/podcast. And you can find us on Facebook, YouTube, and wherever podcasts are found.